Ya. Dime, perdón. No. ¿Sí? Yo lo tengo en posición off de micro. Que funcione yo es otra historia. Awesome. So, how was that networking? The coffee was very good, and all the snacks. You talked with people you didn't know before, right? Have you been able to experience some of the VR products that we have outside of the technologies we have? As I said at the beginning, apart from the knowledge that will come out from this stage, it's very important that you try, that you experiment, that you experience. We always remember the first thing we do something. So the first time you discover VR, a general twin, a digital twin, probably you will remember that and you will share it. So let's start with some more caffeine in blood, with a bit more energy. Let's continue with this session, with this congress on tourism and technology. Now we're going to talk about very specific technologies. Now we will have a panel that is titled as Big Data and AI for optimization of tourist destination. There are very specific topics. So I'm going to invite to stage the people who will moderate it, who is Javier Franco Hormiga, which is the director of the Canarian Agency of Investigation, Research and Information Society. I'm going to invite him to the stage. Another one for Raúl Domínguez Pérez, CEO and founder of Mar Lab. For Jorge Núñez, CEO of Adquiver. And also for Gran Álvarez Orjales, a business architect for Minsight. So you have your time to shed some light on AI optimized for tourist destinations. It's a big pleasure. Thank you. Well, here we are. Can you hear me? Yes. So, first of all, I want to welcome you and I want to thank you, to thank the organization and the regional government of Fuerteventura for giving us the opportunity to be the ones opening, breaking the ice, and opening this Congress on Technology and Tourism 4.0. It's fourth edition, as we said at the beginning. We had to congratulate the whole team and mainly Carmen and her people and the technicians of the regional government, because it has taken 2-3 years to re-edit this 8th edition. They have achieved to do it, and so I want to thank them because I know how hard it is, and I want to congratulate them for that. Well, obviously, it's a big honor to participate in this panel about big data and AI, two essential pillars of the digital transformation that we are living nowadays, and they are at the core of public policies on innovation within the government of Canary Islands. From the Research, Innovation and Information Society Agency of the Canary Islands, we are working in line with the principles defined on innovation and technology law, which is about to be passed, a new rule that admits the strategic paper of technology, knowledge, and digitalization for the sustainable development of our archipelago. This law enforces a regional government based on cooperation between institutions, among institutions, among universities and cities. And it defines a governance framework to ensure that talent, our talent on research and innovation, becomes levers of economic progress and social progress. In this framework, Fuerteventura is not only a scenario, it's rather a key stakeholder. The island is positioning itself in areas such as digitalization, tourist digitalization, sustainability, and technological innovation, becoming itself in an alive laboratory where we can pilot digital solutions, intelligent solutions in real time. In this panel, we have a clear example of that approach. To gather different reference people from the business sector, as the ones we have here on stage, in the technological world and tourist world, to think about how big data and AI, we all heard about it, how they are defining and redefining the ways we plan, the way we work, and the way we make decisions. Sounds out? Okay. I want to introduce the people who are joining me today. I will start with Fran. It seems that we have technical issues. We have Raúl Domínguez Pérez, architect by the University of Catalonia, CEO of Canary Islands Marlab, that offers since 2022 data-driven solutions. We have technical issues. Interpreter speaking. We have technical problems. We cannot hear. A trajectory in solutions, in AI solutions, which inspire all of us. From my friend Jorge Núñez. He has executive MBA by the AOI and has conducted data science, big data, analytics in Boston. And actually, currently, he is the CEO of Quiver, a technological Canary Island company, which was founded in 2016, which labor on data science, on tourism, on luxury tourism, has been pioneering. Thank you, Jorge, for joining us today. And Fran Álvarez Corjales, professional related to the environments of business architecture and digital transformation. He develops a fundamental role in the digital transformation of organizations by ensuring that technical solutions adopted are sustainable, that's very important, scalable, and in line with the business needs. So to the three of you, thank you for joining us today. And it's a big honor, a pleasure to have you here and to introduce you here. Everything is related to the talent team we have in Canary Islands, the good things we have here in our islands. In this environment, public-private partnerships are very important. Attracting talent and using responsible data are essential tools for our diversification and our economy, and to ensure a more fair and more digital and more human future. From the islands, we will still bet on facilitating these connections to promote transforming projects and placing Canary Islands, especially Fuerteventura, at the spearhead of knowledge. So let's get into business. Let's get down to business, because they are the important ones, not me. So let's start that in this about hour that we have available. We will be told about the time left. I wanted to ask you, to make a brief introduction of your companies, of your business, of what you actually do, and your real world, so to speak, so we can ask you specific questions that I will be distributing among you. So first of all, the audience can know about you. After this brief introduction I made, maybe you can explain a bit more about you and your business, so they know who you are. Thank you, Raúl. If you want to start, let's continue with Lorenzo. So first of all, it's a big honor to be here, surrounded by big such professionals like these ones. Marlab is a company that maybe most people don't know. We have been working for 3 years, and actually, as you said, we are focused on helping the HoReCa service to have more knowledge and autonomy, to have the ability, and what we do, is to allow the hotels to become more autonomous, commercially speaking, incorporating this digital environment, especially in territories where people, and especially in Canary Islands, where the air ecosystem, we help hotel owners to provide that service. And especially beyond that, like a couple of years ago, we turned around and we saw that our actual value was not the ultimate goal, which of course is increasing the direct income, but rather to provide some knowledge to the ecosystem in the islands within, as we can like to say, helping them to get out of the room, so to speak, because it's a knowledge that has been always in third parties' hands and has a very strong impact on the ability of a hotel owner not to sell directly, but rather to control their market mix, to have a healthy mix, and actually tourism companies can become more sustainable, controlling their ability to reach customers. That's more or less it. Thank you, Raúl. Jorge. Thank you, Javier. Before anything, I want to thank you for the introduction. I think that we are pleased to be here, and we have the honor of having you here as the moderator of this panel, and I appreciate that. I'm the CEO of Adquiver. Adquiver is a company that was born in 2016 with a vision, a very particular vision, on generating context around data that is used in the tourist sector. Revolving around that, we try to generate a higher number of direct sales within the hotel sector, starting from the deep knowledge of data around it, what is engaged in these direct sales. Actually, knowledge is not about destination, but rather in the source, in the origin. And from there, we start campaigns, advertising campaigns, to obtain the highest performance for the hotel owners. Adquiver's evolution has been pure technology. We have developed a lot of technologies, and I think that a very disruptive technology, when it comes to, has a very defined purpose, and especially because we're working with a lot of stakeholders around the ecosystem who make that each of us have a direct benefit from the whole ecosystem that is being generated. So Adquiver actually tries to integrate all stakeholders so that among all of them, the cooperation and the competition, data competition around all the stakeholders can coexist and generate more value to all of us who are engaged in this sector. First of all, I want to thank you, Javier, for the introduction, for being able to share the stage with you. Thank you for counting on me, and thank you for listening to us. My name is Fran. I represent today Minsight, and what we do is helping companies to reach a level of digitalization, a higher level of digitalization through technological innovation. I'm specialized in data spaces and how to generate a European data market based on interoperability, security, and trust. To reach this point, I had helped other big companies in their companies like Inditex or Allianz, and now he helped the European Commission, which is called DigiConnect, to create a middleware with which we can implement data spaces in a free and secure way, complying with all the existing regulations. And as we said before, we in Europe, we are pioneering in this area. So thank you so much. Perfect. Fran, so let's go down to business. Let's get down to business. This is something that can be interesting for the four of us who are here. On my side, because of my academic DNA, so to speak, because of the statistics and maths that I'm good, and for your genius use of data. Everything that we know today as AI is due to the consumption of thousands of terabytes. So we have to talk about science data, big data, and all of these. We're going to try to make the audience be able to understand everything, because when we start talking, we're passionate about the topic and we lose the grip, so to speak. So let's see if we are able to convey the idea and to see the relevance of what we today has what today has become disruptive, And nowadays, it has turned into something on a daily basis. In my presentation, I said that before. When Nacho said the US designs it, China manufactures it, and we in Europe, we put it in the middle to be the referees. And sometimes the food gets cold, so to speak, and that's it. In the hotel environment, it's a question for the three of you. I will always ask the question for the three of you. You can start right now, Frank, so we can change the order. In the hotel environment, because those data need to be received, as Jorge said before, it's not only the destination. That's where we always knew how to gather data from customers. Here, the important thing and a very important element is the source, the origin. So afterwards, we will look, we'll talk about technical questions, but one of these devices or techniques, which are IoT things, what we use, how they are integrating this data from those IoT gadgets and these online sales channels to improve the daily operation and customer experience. They are reaching the hotel, okay, they are arriving to the airport, they are visiting the island from one side to the other, and there are IoT systems that are collecting data at the same time. So how does it work? Here, the important thing is how data are related from different sources. You can have some data from IoT that come from sensors, from an elevator, how many times they go up and down, how many people arrive at an airport. You can have data from sources such as mobility, data from companies who issue invoices. But the important thing about having good data and drawing good conclusions is how do you relate, how you connect those data. So it's important to get those data, but the ultimate goal is to take advantage of them through crossing them and drawing real conclusions. The idea behind all these is that you can actually get your own data, but what happens? If you only work with your own data, you will have a biased information that will only belong to your specific environment. If you work in a closed environment, you won't be able to contrast your data with other entities or with other bodies or with other data suppliers. Why I'm saying this, as Daniel said before, about having critical thinking, I think it's necessary to elevate this to a sharing environment, either monetized or not, where we can actually make a transfer of information to share the data and draw a better conclusion among all of us, so SMEs, which have a larger problem to reach some data, can have access to data that can be issued from Booking or Expedia, or data from mobility, public data, so they are able to draw their own conclusions. How are they going to make this? If they are SMEs and they don't have the ability to execute or to run AI or big data because it's not in their profiles or they are not oriented towards that, that's a part where that's a problem that data spaces solve. You have access to that computing power through third parties. So instead of getting those data, you can actually have access to the application that will deliver a result that you want from those data. Jorge, the same question to you. To a certain extent, we need to be more practical. In reality, reality is very different from the conception we are discussing when it comes to data spaces in Europe with Gaia X and the future, etc. So just to delve into data sources and which data are interesting for data or hotel owners, I think there are different levels. There are some standardization that we intend to do from Europe without counting on the private sector. And the private sector is the one that actually knows what they need and what they don't need. So I believe that we need to go down to talk with the hotel ecosystem, talk with the business associations, which actually know what's going on within the sector, and of course, doing what Fran says, trying to unify or to merge the conception that of those data need to be exploited, because not all data are valid and not all the sensors are necessary. I mean, which data can be cross connected with sensors, with heat maps, with compared to other kinds of hotels, which has nothing to do with your business, but maybe when it comes to timing, you can understand how flows go within a hotel compared to yours. So there are some interests there. That leads us to understand how we need to develop use cases that have a practical use. Because as you said before, with the topic of Europe, Europe only knows how to regulate, and they do it terribly because it doesn't allow us to advance. They are all hinderings when it comes to evolution. It tells a lot when it comes to legal limits, but they are not doing it right because it doesn't allow us to evolve compared to technologies. ChatGPT can be a good thing, but probably for Europe, they will be willing to legislate to see if there's intellectual property. ChatGPT starts to have copyright, and we are all lost. We need to understand some areas. We need to lower those areas down to the most practical area of the hotel sector, and from there we can start building, not upside down. Thank you, Jorge. Afterwards, if we have time, we will delve. We will go down, and we will talk about databases and policies. Excuse me. Sorry, apologize. Thank you. In line with what Jorge said, my culture comes from my experience within the hotel sector before moving to technology. But I'm lucky enough of knowing people who work very close with this sector, and that's what they are saying. The challenge for the part of technological infrastructure is about ceasing to translate. We're in a world where we start talking about data as a source, but actually the world is turning towards the execution of practical cases. In the end, data are good, but now we have tools, and that's why we talk about AI. There's a boom about that, but in the end, we want to have use cases, specific use cases, and from our side, we have to talk about cases that respond to needs and have an impact on value. Within our team, we propose and we talk about these. That's our main focus, of course. We always try to question until the end. This information, this is like this, okay, but why? To do this, okay. So we will need to go through that path to see where we go. You cannot dump everything and that's it. This private sector is getting bored and they have the ability to process that. And thanks to technology, it can go unnoticed, it can be automated, and the work is about supervising those chores that are being done. And the hotel sector is leading a big disruption or big different opportunities compared to the digital or physical. Digital compared to physical environment. In the digital world, there are some huge opportunities, and they are still about to be explored. We have projects, common projects, a model like the one we mentioned. I don't want to talk about the physical space because reality, even if we have IoT, the hotel experience is about a room and a pool, most of them. But however, in the digital environment, we have lived disruptions. And on our side, that's our focus. We have layers on the digital environment. And as a sector, we need to approach those layers. And we're leaving that in the hands of big players. And I think that technology nowadays allows that any SME can approach that task. Of course, it's true that all the IoT things, devices or gadgets, analytics devices, future devices that will come in the cafeterias of hotels or cars, maybe they feed from this technology and they capture those data. So at a certain point, they will be levers of that huge amount of data. That goes around my second question. Let's start with you. How can the analysis of big data volumes, as we know as big data, transform the segmentation and customization of tourist sector offers, and which barriers, either technological or organizational barriers, are usually found to implement in an effective manner. I will start by the end, okay? The main problem of barriers, I will always say something in favor of the private sector, mainly in the islands, because I believe that we always tend to say that maybe it's an issue of culture or vision rather than resources. But I insist, our duty is that on this side of the table, meaning that we need to facilitate their work. Everyone has to do what they have to do. And what we do very well in Canary Islands is to offer more significant experiences. They have enough with the challenge of making that a tourist moves or takes 5 hour plane to get here, having already a digital leisure offer, and that's a competition within the traditional sector. Therefore, we cannot ask companies devoted to that apart from that, they have an organization and a culture. Of course, that's important, but I believe that what we need to do from our side is to facilitate their job. And as I said before, the solutions that we can provide, either to have a direct impact on income or to maximize benefits or to optimize costs, are effective things and use cases. It's very frequent to say, okay, organizational culture, companies, they don't absorb whatever, but there's a long way ahead of us in terms of organization. It's a thing about vision, profiles, but I insist, we need to put that on the table. Likewise, the private sector the big technological companies have to demand, they demand more than I demand myself, to have those use cases. Organizations, technical organizations are companies that need to be able to focus on something, because it's a technical world is very demanding. So either you do something very well and you keep advancing and you're looking at today's solutions, but rather the threats for tomorrow and how our industry will change with AI applications. What I'm saying is that from our side, it's very important to provide an effective solution or response. We know that companies need to have a clear view and accept that technology. If the private company doesn't understand that what we are discussing today can ensure sustainability, economic sustainability, not only for our specific sector, but the tourist sector as a whole in the next years, I think that's a message that should soak in. It's up to us to follow that way. How can this transformation between the offer of the tourist sector and the barriers that the technological companies may have, and also regarding governance, organizational, etc.? Because sometimes, as Raul was saying in a minute, just a minute ago, it's very difficult to explain the hotel owners and the tourist sector, especially when they are small companies. The big ones work on their own. But how do we explain them that this transformation or this data analytics is important? I always have an approach I try to spread, which is that the hotel sector in Spain is the best one in terms of service. However, in terms of business, they are not doing that good because they are not managing data. I understand that a big corporation has to be based on data use. And of course, the service is taken for granted because normally the service standards in Spain and in Canary Islands, especially speaking, are very high and the service is very controlled. However, there is a whole world behind that, which is data management, which can allow to become more optimal and profitable. It's true that from at Quiver, we started with a tech development that had to be supported on different technologies to be able to manage that big data and to transform it into value as the way we have considered it. But the reality is so painful that we weren't able to find any application that let us support on it. So we had, which is also a positive thing, we had to develop a ad hoc technology that allowed us to do everything we wanted to do with the data. A part of that technology is the one that allows us to be very focused on the sector, to be able to segment from any information source everything we want. Everything is tracked, everything is monitored, and understanding how we can activate those data depending on the actual needs of the customer. Therefore, it's very important. But all of this, as Raul said, is our obligation. But the sector doesn't understand what's behind, and they don't understand and they don't put value on that and the dimension it involves, not even the economic bet underlying. So it's true that, and here I will say something positive, because luckily in Fuerteventura, especially speaking, a software has a very differential and disruptive vision about this. They try to understand that they have a vision that has to gather the knowledge from the whole sector in order to bolster any of the players within the sector, making reference to what you said before, Fran, saying, okay, among all of us, we know more than just one of us in a closed environment. So, how can we do that? Playing with a key part, a business association like a software, which has a vision that complements the whole needs of the private sector with the whole technological offer available from the private sector. That's where we merge a knowledge that has to be led by the private sector. And I assume that the private sector is the one that has to have that potential. And I assume that if all stakeholders work together in an aware way of working, and they know that adding together is stronger than working independently, we start to generate segments, more particular knowledge, trying to make this model turn towards a more differential model, or towards a model that you can pivot. But you can pivot it because you actually have the knowledge, not the upside down. Because right now we are lost to tour operators because of they want to sell in Germany or in the UK, and they bring the tourists to us. And in this case, they decide as demand, not the demand that the hotel owners want. That's where the power of knowledge plays a different role. And that's where we need to provide them with that power, this power to the hotel sector, because the hotel sector works. They don't have a tangible need, but we can have some situations like COVID where everyone tries to have a technological platform, to have the whole knowledge, to be able to know what to do. But at that very moment, you don't have it because you didn't do it before when you had to do it actually. Or back in 2008 when we had that economic crisis. Or the third-party countries. So from your experience, what do you think? I couldn't agree more. I want to mention the topic about culture and rejection to change, reluctance to change. At first, we talked about our dates, then we have abacus, then we have calculators. Now you go to hotel and you have this POS. We don't have as we did at first. And for many hotel owners, this would be a reluctancy because they need to invest. Which benefit will I get from that? Because I already have my business, right? But when the competition adopts that, you are forced because your efficiency goes down. So now we have a new calculator, which is AI, which generates big data analysis, It refines crude, and turns it into fuel. So what's the power of this? It has the power, for instance, you have the enough data with statistics, you can make a forecast of the occupation you will have. You will have a forecast on the demography that will reach your hotel, the interest of those visitors, So you can orchestrate everything around a room and a pool. You can create or offer some activities that make a difference, that makes you have more business. So I think that's in the end what big data can offer. The culture we need to have is okay. Among all of us, we will add more. It's not hiding data so nobody else can see them. So stock data are a waste of money because it has a expense on infrastructure of IoT to gather those data. If you make your data available, you can monetize them. So you're getting a return of investment by modernizing your company. So if that modernization is cheaper, that's better. Secondly, when you do that, you create a sharing culture where you can actually take advantage of the rest of from different stakeholders within your environment in your favor, and the rest can do the same, of course. It's worthless if a hotel grows in an area, but the whole area needs to grow so that the hotel earns value. That's the way I see it. So that area needs to become attractive, and for that you need a community that grows together, and that's what we get from this culture of sharing, right? Growing all together.
Mm. How interesting, Fran. I think that the next question has a relationship to that. We are placing the huge value that companies have with regards to knowledge, or the fact that you want to have the knowledge to have those data available in your organization. Technology provides an opportunity to create an excellent tourism destination package. And now let's begin with Jorge. What are the main challenges SMEs in the Canary Islands when having to adapt these technologies compared to big hotel chains? Because it's not the same. From your experience, what's your opinion on this? Well, my vision is the following. If you don't jump on the bandwagon, you'll miss it. This sector is very atomized. The sector industry is very well atomized, but using tools that are very advanced, it's like if in the Middle Ages you had a gun. Even if you were on your own, you would beat a whole army, and this is what's happening right now. Hotel SME positioning without technology or without data usage or without knowledging or knowing how to process data will result in less competitiveness. And if you do have investment in R&D, in technology, knowledge, etc., we'll see more process. It's weird that Booking hasn't bought a hotel in a holiday destination. The sales control of the urban sector is in the hands of Booking. It's not in each hotel chain's hand. Nike is going back to Amazon. Nike didn't sell on Amazon, but now they're back on it. I think Melia hotels are not on Booking. And if they are, it's just to book some spare spaces that they have. But this means that they have the right knowledge and they know when I will allow you to sell my rooms. But now it's the other way around in the Canary Islands. The decision-making muscle relies more on the operation than on the hotel owners. So it's all about when I want to sell, to whom, and at which cost. which price. And you can only beat that with technology and with knowledge. There's no other choice. Yes, and consistency. And I'll stand up for a software. In Fuerteventura, we are talking about this. How? Well, we're delivering from their standpoint in a very humble way. That's the truth. But we have to provide the hotel industry with that knowledge so that they have that potential to be able to be at a level playing field with large players. So food hotels have full knowledge on the area. And moving to a 2.0 business association, and not just to deal with labor issues in the industry, and to look for covering the interests of the accommodation sector is great. And I'm developing technology for you so that you become more competent in this new era. The truth is that we see a huge gap that will probably expand and will be exponential shortly when a small hotel will sell to the large hotel, otherwise they cannot compete. Fran, how about you? Based on your experience, what do you see things like? We've talked about the weakness of the small player, David and Goliath. The large player will always have more resources to have specific profiles that work in technology needs jobs. If I'm a small hotel or if I'm a reduced tourist agent, I won't have as much capacity to have a specialized technical profile to deal with these matters. That's one of the main advantages. Secondly, training in this particular technology field. I believe that this can be filled in. This gap can be filled. If we don't do anything, the business will all be for those who manage trips and do the core business. But if there are spaces that are accessible for small companies, themselves could offer and sell their businesses in that space. So instead of having large operators, the stakeholder, the interested party, could be in that scene. In that data space, can decide on what's of interest to them. Imagine we had a portfolio including all the tourism offer on the island, and that's IA driven, and then you have a prompt like, for example, I would like to know which hotel I want to do this trip. These are my hobbies, these are my likings, this is my profile, so what would be your recommendation? And then it would directly take you to the entities offering those services you're interested in. And there wouldn't be any intermediaries, so both the tourist and the small companies get benefited from that. So it's not just the right path, and it's the way to fill in the gaps and to fight those disadvantages and differences between David and Goliath. I don't think that we've mentioned this, and I don't know if we'll have time for it later, but we have to share all those data with smaller players, because sometimes large players think, look, these are my data, I'm not sharing them. But going back to the question, Raúl, well, I think that we're already getting down to business and we're fully down deep. We managed to get a booking through a client through ChatGPT. It took a few minutes, but in the end we got it. He went into our website and placed the booking. But I would like to insist on what's been said here. It's very interesting. Most innovations, it comes to relationships between SMEs and big corporations, associations, competence is paramount, because most innovations in the industry, we've talked about the sales part, have been given to us. But they don't come from tourist companies. They're not even Spanish or even European. So big tech groups have changed the rules of the game, and we're worried in Europe for other matters. So we need to look for the way to innovate. And here's where the opportunity lies. We work together in some projects, and we need to think that individually we can't do anything. So this is we're at large. I'm convinced we have huge opportunities. Business associations play a key role because we have everything we need to be more independent, more intelligent, and more capable, but everything is disconnected. And I push Canary Islands organizations that help the industry, because we promote more than booking, but that's disconnected, and this only has an impact on how reliant on third parties we are. So we need to understand how all the pieces come together is a huge challenge. We're working on projects where just breaking those reluctancy to govern, to rule the operation is a huge challenge. But once we achieve that governance, that cooperation, I think that the opportunities will be endless. And the Canary Islands needs to do that. We cannot rely on tourism so much. Demand shouldn't depend on third parties. COVID helped us because we didn't have anything else to think about than that. And the Balearic Islands are ahead of us. But we had a chance to think when COVID, but we don't have high and low seasons. We're busy all year through, and that's the difference compared to the Balearic Islands. But I think that, as it's been said, cooperation and sharing is essential. I don't know if we're running out of time, but I would like to talk about Congress's philosophy. So the production and tourism network of the islands is essential, the administrative side to it as well. We need to raise awareness, and someone needs to build the bridge between one side and the other so that technology gets there. But what about our talent? What about training and education? That's the third leg of this Congress, because we feed from the training schools in the Canary Islands. We have students here in the audience, and this is such an important part. So here's the question. Raúl first. What sort of skills and what profile is missing in the Canarian ecosystem to make the most of these big data tools? Do we need to have mentoring programs or education alliances so that we can fill in the gaps? Is our higher education ready to take in this huge change? There's so many questions here. And our dual vocational training plays a key role, because we need to have people that are ready for the current environment. So it's not only about checking and check out. In the meantime, we need to think about everything that's in between. Right. I've seen that there's a lot of young people in the audience. There's so much talent, and technology companies live from talent. It's our main asset. I don't know if we can talk about the profiles that we need. Our recent hires are data engineerings, infrastructure people, this kind of professional profiles. But I'm a bit annoyed that we had to hire them either from abroad, Canarians who were traveling outside of the islands, and that they want to come back. They might be losing a bit of purchasing power, but they want to come back to their home. People who were working at Amazon, for instance, or people who work here in the islands but have to work for companies elsewhere. So we're training talent that provides service for outsiders. They pay their taxes outside of the Canary Islands. However, they use our services, they use the roads, everything. And this is a huge problem. And I don't think the problem is about professional profiles. When we hire someone, nowadays no one can claim to be an expert in anything. What we value the most is that they have adaptation capacity and ability to change and update. So the huge challenge is not about the training. What we need to do is to boost companies. We need to have a high quality business network. And I'm sure that at Quivert, it's the same. Our average salary is above any other accommodation company in the field. So we need to be competitive and qualified and have skills, but it's more, it's a broader topic. We need a big, high quality, productive tissue. Tourist technology industry. Diversifying is great, but we know we're experts in tourism. We need to understand that the future is not about importing more tourists, even if they spend more and more, that's great. But we need to be able to export tourism, to export tourist technology. We have clients everywhere, and that's what will bring wealth. We need to grow because this is the way we can create high quality employment that generates wealth for our archipelago. That's the thing. Okay, I've taken good note about your comments. Jorge, well, I'm wearing my institutional hat. The head of the technology cluster in the Canary Islands. Well, Raúl is the president of clusters at Turisfera, and I'm the secretary. And with my institutional hat on, this is my opinion. In fact, with the cluster, we're working on projects for vocational training with DC and to foster this talent development in new technologies. And we're also working to boost the female world in technology. And there are many actions on the from the technology cluster on this direction. As Raúl was saying, I'm a mining engineer. Well, I actually didn't graduate, but I work on data processing. It has nothing to do with mining. Well, it's a different kind of mining, but it had nothing to do with what I studied at university. And it's true that since I live in the Canary Islands, because I am from Madrid, the passion for the tourism world has grown, has increased. And that passion for the tourism sector in the Canary Islands, because it accounts for 80% for the indirect GDP in the Canary Islands, it's great. And you cannot find this in Switzerland or Germany or in Moscow. Someone who's born in the Canary Islands knows the tourism field into depth. They know when it's high season, low season, what implications it has, what are British tourists like, what do German tourists want, what the differences are, and that information cannot be transferred. Either you live it or you just don't understand it. But exporting tourism, Raul is right. Canarian talent, they have an innate passion. It's part of your life, it's part of your upbringing. We will never be experts in weaponry. We need to focus on tourism and do our best to improve the sector. Being leaders doesn't mean selling the best room. It means making the most of all the value chain spots. It's not about serving the tourist, but providing people with the best knowledge and exporting that to the outside. We should sell our know-how in companies in Dubai, for instance, and this has been done. And to share how they projected their vision and to teach them how to project the vision of their own. So how would you do this exercise we've done in Canarias in the Arab Emirates? That is what exporting talent is about, because there are opportunities here that are non-existent in France, in Madrid, in Switzerland, or elsewhere. This is our star product here in the Canary Islands. This is what we're trying to do from our agency. It's part of our DNA. Fran, training is important, but any other assessment is valid. So what's your opinion? Well, I see, first of all, the public administrations responsible to offer a more up-to-date catalog. And if you've got data analysts, you've got data engineers, that's great. But do you have anybody governing the data? Do you have anyone who gets this together and then you personalize? How do I want data to be organized within our space, with our consortium? That's really important because that generates interoperability among different organizations to share data, to create a relationship, one-on-one relationship. So let's set up a training course on data governance. No, that's not the way. We have to integrate that element to the courses that are already in place. So the degrees that exist need to include a module on this. We need to create specialists. I can see many young people here in the room, and it's not just about public administration. You need to have continuous training, because the more you know, the higher impact you will get in the future. And you need to export that value abroad, outside, and to get investment, a return on investment. That's great. Well, we're running out of time, but I always like the audience to take part. So, are there any questions for our panel? Would anybody like to ask anything? I can see a hand up. Can we please bring them a microphone? Good morning. My question is, I'm 50 years old. Going to university at 18 years old is great when you're young. I meet many people who are Erasmus students, and everybody studies the same, communications and IT. And then they're with their screens and isolated, and we don't have any contact with them. I've integrated technology, but is there any course in the Canary Islands targeted at people my age? We need access to some simpler information. We're all busy, so is there any program, any association where we can sign up for and get in touch with new generations, because they speak a totally different language? How can we come closer to new generations? Well, this is an open question. Do you have any experience? Do you know about any more basic training courses, maybe? Well, my suggestion would be to come to the technology cluster and speak to us. The goal of the cluster is not to provide companies with the right technology. Our mission is to share these kind of things, to answer to these kind of questions. How can I learn about new technologies? What's the offer? The cluster is in touch with institutes, education institutions, and it encourages for a more technology productive tissue to exist. Well, I think that it is our own responsibility to get the knowledge. You need to be self-trained. I devote a lot of time to being up to date with new technology, and that has nothing to do with the Canary Islands. There are so many platforms available at the moment, and they're amazing. You can personalize your training as much as you like, and this was not the case in the past. I remember that mastered courses in the past used to provide you with these huge blocks of content that you had to study, but now everything is available online. You can decide to check content on whichever topics you might be interested in. I mean, you can browse a little bit and you'll find what you need. Well, in our agency, we have courses for basic digitalization for all kinds of target groups, also older people. But you can check with local entities. Okay, any other questions? Remarks? Do you need clarification on anything? Good morning. Thank you very much for this roundtable. It's been great. My question is a more general one on AI. 6 months ago, a video went viral on Saudi Arabia. They're using a robot that works based on AI, and the lady who was presenting this robot had a really inappropriate behavior with the lady, and this sparked a debate. And I'm bringing this example up because 2 days ago, the same company published a follow-up on this incident. My question is more about what measures can we take to ensure that ethical limits and conduct codes are complied with. That was wonderful. So sometimes we're the referee, but citizens need to be protected against these technical advancements. Because to which extent is the VAR as effective in football? Well, the question is for you, so I'll leave you to answer. Well, I'm not an expert, but I did hear about these cases. All of us have have seen how developers and the businesses that promote this have been voluntarily vocal about the questions that technology brings up, and intellectual property, data, etc. The intelligence that creates music is making musicians and artists uncomfortable because technology is only replicating human behavior. So when a human artist composes a song, they have everything they've listened to in their lives in their head. And with all of it, they create something new. And it was really interesting listening to him. So these are the more sensitive points regarding this new technology: values, morals, ethics. I mean, I don't feel myself ready to make any comments. But the debate is out there, so now we need to decide where's the limit. There are many cases in courts at the moment, and this is brand new. In first instance, there was an AI that generates images, and anything that you post online is of public domain. And AI was feeding on a source that was public. Well, I'm not an expert, but I think that we all know that it's a hot topic that will give much to talk in the coming years in the private company and in the public sphere. Up until now, we're very calm about the use of the data. Well, I can give my data. I don't mind to become a product as long as I get something in return. But when we understand that this runs smoothly, then it will be different. Fran will tell us.
In the end, this is like everything. A knife doesn't kill. It's the person who uses who kills it. It's what you do with that tool, what will actually generate the ultimate circumstance. In this sense, there are European regulations like the IA Act that intend to regulate the training of these LLM models. The problem is that since you cannot control everything, as you cannot control a gun, you cannot control the market generated around it, you can regulate it. And what you can do is, when these kind of things happen within your sovereign territory, which has a specific regulation, you can act involving justice. And that's the further we can go. With people, you cannot avoid that somebody says something very macho, so to speak, but if you did something wrong, you can take that to the court, of course. Jorge, as Fran said, I agree. Europe regulates, and that's what I said before. We were saying this because this is a clear reality. That's what he exposed. In any case, I don't know if there's any other question, but just to conclude, to wrap up, if you allow me, I want to thank your brief. I'm saying brief because this topic is so large as big data. So we could spend the whole morning talking about that, but we can get the audience bored. So I want to say that this new law that we are trying to pass in Canary Islands, Esencia Canaria, it's going to be passed in the parliament. It has main objectives like financing, protecting and promoting the investigators, and has some specific sections about introducing a minimum legal framework to supplement the public administration and the private sector, but never trying to be a hindering something that can actually regulate in a secure and safe manner for everyone. But in any case, we will stop here. It's a very important topic, and with further ado, for the future in the next congresses, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank everyone, and see you in a minute. Thank you, Javier Franco Hormiga, director of the Canary Islands Association, Jorge Fran. Everything was very interesting. We had so many ideas, but I will tell some which have been interesting, like the context around data and how The knowledge comes from the source. And this reminded me, I was working to a hotel group, the second largest group in Spain, and about this data from origins, the obsession of the CEO was saying, okay, I want to know the person who calls me, I want to know if the person comes from Valencia with V or Palencia with P. Why? Because a person who calls from Palencia with P is willing to pay 10 or 15 euros more to have views to the sea. However, a person from Valencia doesn't care much. So a very clear example on how that origin knowledge, that person, that Tomas Garcia, that XYZ person, but maybe the threshold, the price threshold is not important. However, that person comes from Palencia or from Zamora or from Salamanca, every morning having sights of the sea and taking a beer, looking at the sea, that adds value and has a price and has a benefit. This is the context, the data context that I said from origins. It has come up several times in terms of the ecosystem, the win-win, working in symbiosis. Topic that in Canary Islands there's no time to stop, because in Baleares they have like low season, they can stop and think. But here hotel owners are based on invoicing. That reminded me of the big challenge of innovation, which is finding a balance between exploiting and exploring. This happens to big companies and small companies too, exploiting the resources we have, talent, time, and capital, exploiting the occupation per fee of the facilities of our hotels, but also exploring new alternatives. If I'm just based on exploiting and optimizing, maybe I'm leaving something aside. I cannot look further to see new alternatives. I like the sentence that those who don't join will lose. And this little information, we have two speeches, two rock songs from the 80s, With or Without You, from YouTube. This will happen either with or without you. You can join or you can be left outside. Also, we have Winds of Change from Scorpions to take advantage and build windmills in this island with strong winds, to build windmills to take advantage of that energy. We also mentioned the importance of liability of each of us. That was the question posed by that lady, because everyone has the liability to train, because lifelong learning, either we are young or we are a bit older, we need to update ourselves, and there are tools, and it's easier than ever to learn with that attitude that I mentioned in my speech. Tourism belongs to Canarian DNA. It has been here for generations. So I think that's an asset, a collective memory that can be exported. I like that concept of very few societies will understand it as well as you can understand it. Then we had the debate about big and small, about David and Goliath, because remember that in the Bible, David beats Goliath with its weapon, with a sling of big data, because AI has democratized everything. It was the gameplay like 15 years ago, like a few years back, only the richest one had the power of doing that. If you want to make a good video, you had to hire McCann Erickson or another big person. Now you can create a very good video recorded just with a smartphone or with a GoPro or with the Chinese copy of the GoPro. And if we want to edit it, we can do it with a tablet. And if you want to add some effects, we can ask an AI to do the video. And that's very accessible and cheap. So a few years back, sharing videos required a communication structure through a TV broadcasting system. Now it can be uploaded to YouTube and everything goes viral. And if nobody likes it, I can erase it or change it. That gives tools to SMEs, a small hotel, a local hotel, some other companies can compete in a way that they couldn't do before, because big chains have other kind of muscles. Well, this is more or less a summary of what we have seen. Now we move to the next format. The next format is a pixel, an elevator pitch, which is what entrepreneurs do, startups do, which is the elevator, the elevator pitch, the one you hear in the, for instance, let's imagine that now we have an entrepreneur who gets into an elevator, and next to him we have Richard Branson, so they have 2 minutes to sell their idea. So if you start to think twice, it's over. I'm saying Richard Branson to talk about tourism, or Amancio Ortega, or Tim Cook, whoever, we don't care. An entrepreneur has to have that very clear speech to capture listeners' attention. I'm the solution to your problem, to this challenge. If you want to know more, call me tomorrow. And if he does it right, he will be received a call. We'll have some pitches. They won't be last 3 minutes, because we don't bring three companies that will have like 10-15 minutes to tell what they are doing. They are companies. They are impressionable, so to speak. They go to the core. They cut to the chase to tell about their stories, their success cases. So that's it. I think that the microphone is working, because the first one will be Jose Manuel Lopez, CEO of Visitas Virtuales, virtual visits. A big round of applause for him, and the floor is yours. Before anything, thanks to the organization for inviting us to this congress. We come from a company from Malaga. Jose Manuel Lopez. I'm an economist. I always liked the topic of new technologies and tourism. So back in 2001, I liked when I go somewhere to see it beforehand. And 24 years ago, there was nothing like that. So I decided to create it. So that's when we started with Visitas Virtuales. We got the domain. It's a trademark, registered trademark. So I'm going to tell you the future of that technology since 2001 until now. Just a minute, please. There it goes. Please play the video. I'm going to play a video. It's a visual company. I'm going to play a summary of what we're going to discuss. This is a regular video, flat video. This is a 3D reconstruction, animated 3D reconstruction. You can see the real part behind and the reconstruction we did about the mining process. This is, we had a photogrammetry laser scan the center of Malaga. This is done with a drone, with PC. Malaga's cathedral, there's a tower missing, by the way. This is Seville. With our technology, with the vertical scroll bar, we can see what's now compared to the reconstruction. This is Picasso. We have animated him in the Plaza de la Merced. This is done with a drone. This is scanned with 3D. We can place whatever you want in a real place. We created a virtual museum with sculptures we have found all over the center of Malaga. So we have created a museum from nothing, from scratch. We have recreated our project, which is the recreation of this theater from Malaga. This is 3D, hyper-real 3D. We can animate it. This is recreated photometry with a drone. This is this exists already. This is a project that you can see abroad. Here we have La Malagueña Victoria. He's an avatar. You can ask her and she can respond. She relates you to ChatGPT, and the novelty is that she can take you to the place. We have recreated the Plaza La Merced, where Picasso was born, in Malaga. So we had set some interest points, and she leads you. You need to follow her. It's like a video game. And you can take me to Obelisco. She transcribes that. She answers. She puts that in text, and she can take you. She runs very fast, by the way. And this is what is happening right now. This is laser scan and hyperreality. These are not videos. These, we created an hyperreal scenario, and we can place whatever we want, avatars or whatever. We started the 3D video game quality to hyperreal quality, and in this case we do it with laser scanners. Let's see if this is the dot cloud used by the video, by the scanners. This is not a video, as we said before. So let's move on. Our project is putting value on the monument heritage of cities. We work with public companies, and in the end, that's public patrimony, that public heritage. So we started with the usual virtual visit, like 24 years ago. We started with these visits. We incorporated drones. When there we have no drones, we used a Zeppelin, a 12-meter long balloon with some sort of programming. So we did some pictures. A 360 picture is about a whole bunch of pictures that are gathered, virtually speaking. So for the regional government of Malaga, we made a 360 view of all Malaga's villages. We created like a virtual office. Then the topic of what I say, visors, because we can have this 360 picture and implementing the 3D reconstruction like it was back at the time, like a castle, a Roman city. This was requested by a restoration in Cordoba of a tower. So we put the 3D object, plus if you click on the signs, you were able to see the different stages of the building process. However, the reconstruction says, okay, when we make a fix, a repair of a part of the monument, we need to justify it with a video. And with this virtual visit, everything is more clearly explained. Then we moved from 360 pictures to 3D recreation that can be implemented in 3D videos plus 360. So everything are reconstructions. Please play the video. Let's go. This is a castle, of course. Nothing exists right now. Just half of the tower, which is on top. And with historians, we always work with somebody who has documented the monument, or either archaeologists, historians that are related to that monument, to make it as faithful as possible to the original one. This doesn't exist. So with this recreation for tourism, this is very interesting because you can have an idea, a clear idea. One thing is to be told about it, but you can see a video. All this technology is very good. For instance, we will see that afterwards, but the possibility of making a pre-trip and an after-trip, because maybe we have one day to visit a city, but there are some things we don't have time to visit, so we can pre-select the places we want to see. We see that beforehand, and physically we go there to visit them. It's like the trip. So I would have liked to see something else, so we could see it like this in a 3D video. Next video. Apart from reconstruction, we can animate it. We can make videos of that reconstruction. How the characters were back at the time, what they did, their chores, so to speak, their duties. And we continue with the environment. We can virtualize deep seas, the bottom of the seas. We can monitor virtualized beaches. We can virtualize. The only thing we have virtualized was, I don't know what it was, the tip of an arrow, excuse me. And we have virtualized 25 museums in the Canary network of museums, like a virtual visit, and either objects within the museum, and with photometry, which is like making a lot of pictures again. You set up the object and you can move it around with a viewer, as we said. And normally they are in some stands, and we can also run 360 routes or trips. This is very good for hiking. In hiking, we can set the distance we want to travel. We can see on Google Maps how it's going, the altitude, speed, etc. So let's play a video so you can see it. This was in Huelva. You can see the distance, the height from the ground, and where you're moving. So you can see, like, in a couple of minutes, this is like a time lapse, an accelerated video. So in a minute you are seeing a 2.5 kilometers hike. I won't see the journey. There are several ways. So we can see the interesting things. I always say that it's interesting to see things before going to the place. I like to be informed before going somewhere, because otherwise, if you haven't been able to collect that information. So in less than 2 minutes, we have been able to see a whole trip. In Malaga, we are visualizing 5 hiking roots in Benalmádena, in a small town. This is not in. This is going 4 minutes up with by on foot, so to speak. Then we have 360 videos, the processions in Malaga. You can see a flea market. You can see. You can have it for everyone. These parades, and as out of curiosity, we celebrated an event where we are based in Malaga, and we had these normal videos and 360 videos. It was uploaded to YouTube, and the 360 video was more visual because you can wear the goggles, you can and it was closer that actually you were there physically. When it comes to museums, either real museums or 3D recreations, these are 3D virtual viewpoints, and only with the technology you cannot zoom in. So they are actually 2,000 pictures. You can scroll, you can move, and you can reach the final part, and you can expand that. So you can have a real view. We can also run these aerial gigapixels with drone. Here you have the cathedral on the lower part of the screen, and if we zoom in, you cannot see it properly. We can see the stadium of the football team, soccer team. So we are talking about these 360. Then gamification and gymkhanas, both with real people. This is a real guide who is explaining in 5 languages the whole trip, the whole visit. And then we can put historical people, whatever we want. We can run some scores. So you have to click on some places so you can be asked some questions. So let's play the video. We can recreate, this is Cervantes, and we can recreate the character. We have a motion capture suit. So this audio is created with AI. This is not a professional speaker. So the audio becomes more and more perfect. What I didn't say before is before and after. As we said before, we have the centuries. You can click and you can scroll bar. You can see how the monument was back at that century. At the same time, this is a leisure park. Before it was a mineral source. And you can see everything. So this 360 technology lets you spend more time somewhere visiting things. Photogrammetry, to turn real objects into 3D. These are some sculptures that we used for the virtual museum. Now we are on Canary Islands, in Fuerteventura. The work we did for Red Museo de Canarias, which is the network of Canarian museums. They have all the objects, so you can grab them, you can open them, and you can move it around in all directions. We have grabbed some small objects until a chariot. So we have different objects. In this 3D object, that's what we could do with the viewer. You can move it all around. It's not a video, it's an object. What we have recorded is just a screen. You can grab it from everywhere you want. Then 3D reconstructions. That's when we moved from real pictures, 360 pictures. We have combined that with 3D, and now we will move to 3D. This is how it is right now, the remainings, and with photogrammetry and with laser scanning, and we have recreated the site. This is an old church, Pali-Christian church, now how it was before, and this would be how it was when it was built, so to speak. This is the same, more or less. This is a Roman therma, and with a scanner with a 3D reconstruction, we were able to recreate the interior, the outside, and the inside of the building. This is a Roman villa, and that's what we have recreated. And with this, with the recreation, we can do videos, we can make like a virtual journey, 360 of everything, of every room. And this is what we have right now. This is what we have outside. We have grabbed with a laser scanner. We have grabbed the city center of Malaga. And this is the result of the laser scanner. That's a color point cloud. And now we have the volumes. These, with the laser scanner and with drones to make the ceilings, the rooftops, and with 3D reconstruction, we have created, this is a capture of what we have outside. This is the video, please. We have recreated from the totals of the city center, we have called Plaza La Merced, which is where Picasso was born. So we have, in a collaboration with the University of Malaga, they have put the avatar within the place, in the place. See, this usual thing, you can ask the avatar can, you talk to him or her, it transcribes into text, it's run into ChatGPT or the database we want to implement, and it responds both in audio and text. This is recorded. It's not audible. You can ask anything to the avatar. And the funny thing, or the disturbing thing, is that you have no idea about the answer. You can run the database, but you don't know what the answer will be. Somehow, sometimes we have tested it in different areas, and trying to force it to make it funny, and actually, he got the sarcasm tone. But you can ask whatever you want. Can you take me to the obelisco? Of course, everything you can see on the area. You need to follow the avatar with the keyboard. This is made by photogrammetry, excuse me. This is a real picture, so to speak. The lamps, everything is real. Now you have the obelisk. You are told the story of the place. We got it for tourism, but there's an award from the innovation area in the town hall of Madrid about recycling. We presented ourselves. Okay, let's go. So we grabbed that. We made the rubbish cans of the town hall of Madrid, and the avatar in Malaga, which is already a historian in Madrid, it was Almudena de Malaga. So what can I do with the glass? Where I can throw it? You can put it in the green container. And then behind her, there was like a green container, and she explained you where to throw the bottles. You cannot throw away wood or whatever. Then you ask the avatar in Madrid, in the northern part of Madrid, where we can find containers to just recycle. And that database was inputted by us, and it told you everything. It's good for recycling, for tourism. We can use it for everything. And once we have the place created, now we have the birthplace of Picasso. We have implemented a restaurant. We have implemented. I want to where and I can ask now. Where's the pharmacy? This is the birthplace of Picasso. The story of the birthplace of Picasso. And it's very funny. About GPT. Now we are using Spanish, but you can switch the language automatically. 90-something languages I think it has now. Sometimes it makes a mistake because not the whole information is controlled. Now you tell to buy pharmacy, so you can move. You can turn it into a game. We can input the information we want about tourism or anything. We can implement hotels, apartments, restaurants, bars, whatever we want. And it will guide you. Apart from the general database of ChatGPT, you can implement the information we want in the database. Here we have the pharmacy. And now we are asking where the restaurant is. I don't know if you may know what espeto is in Malaga, which is fish on a stick, so to speak, made on charcoal, and the avatar tells you that the best espeto is in a restaurant. And there you go. I don't know if there's espeto or not. That's it. The good thing is that you can write it down, you can talk to it, it answers, and it tells you whatever. It has been a pleasure here, and afterwards we can do something. The town hall the Town Hall of Madrid granted us an award. It was 40k euros plus 19% of taxes. I didn't remember that. So imagine the technology. This is starting. We present ourselves to those awards with just this video. We go there, and another companies which had a developed product. And this is quite a shocking thing. There's nothing similar in the market. And we end up finalists just with a video. So imagine that once this is done, we can see that on a tablet or a mobile phone or anywhere. This can be amazing. So far, that's it. That's all, folks. A big round of applause. Congratulations, because these immersive experiences go better and better as the processing capacity improves. You have augmented the digital twin, the drone, ChatGPT for AI to have conversations, racing by laser. This was sci-fi not long ago. So it's impressive to be able to follow those journeys, to see the museums virtually speaking. It's fascinating. Imagine the amount of possibilities we have to show Fuerteventura to those people from Sweden, from Germany, from UK. So they come already looking for what they want to see, or once they have when they have left, they can repeat and be remembered how they enjoyed Fuerteventura. Now let's move to the second pitch. It has Canarian ADI. Is Vanessa Morales Telius, tourism director at 22 Grados. It's a communication and marketing agency born in Canary Islands. It's called 22 degrees because that's the average temperature of Canary Islands, or at least Las Palmas.
Well, with the climate change, you'll have to change your name, right? Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Well, I've been introduced already. My name is Vanessa Morales Celius. I'm the head of tourism at 22 Degrees. It's the marketing Canarian company. That's the way we'd like to define ourselves. I'm sure you will remember the name. And we are very lucky to work here. The president of the regional government has said it this morning. We've become strong in the market, working at where we like, in my case, tourism marketing, and we have been working for 13 years. We are developing brands, not just Canarian brands, also Spanish brands, but thanks to big tourism brands, we could gain experience in international campaigns as well, so we can speak from Canarias to a global world. It was a PDF and it was a bit problematic earlier, so I will begin my presentation and then we can look at the slides. Today I wanted to bring some strengths of an ebook that we've recently published. It's on our website. I'll show you a QR code so you can download it. And it's a practical view on the opportunities to connect with the travelers nowadays, useful for tourism businesses. You'll probably say, well, I already do this, but we need to realize that the possibility that to do things without third parties is high. From tourism SME all the way to large brands, there's a lot of potential to make the most of the digital content. We can be in platforms that gather large audiences together. We focus on the target and the data. Digital gives us this power to experiment. And this is what we wanted to talk about today. Shall I continue? Okay. That's fine. I wanted to talk first and foremost about the customer journey. I'm sure that you've studied this idea that tourists get inspired, then they compare, they search, search and they book a trip. After their booking, we can be lucky for them to recommend us, and it becomes a loyal customer, and all the way back to the beginning. But this has become a more chaotic journey. We can watch a video on Instagram, and we want to look for a very specific thing. For instance, a restaurant. You might choose your next holiday because you feel like having some kind of dish, like lapas with mojo, which is a very Canarian dish. It used to be destination, flight, accommodation, but now, if you have a tourism-oriented business, you can impact those potential tourists by tweaking the specific contents. We say that being on the internet in a basic way is no longer enough. Having your website is no longer enough. For social media profiles is not enough. So this is the chaos we live in today. I'm sure that you feel related to this. So just being online is no longer enough. You need to influence and impact on the tourist. You need to spark that wish, that desire. It's become a lifestyle. And now we have the advantage that people want to travel more and more, and they have very specific aspirations. In the past, people Googled things, but social media have taken over that search engine's role. And Google's share has gone down. In fact, TikTok conducted a study and it revealed that 40% of users are inspired by TikTok to pick their next holiday destination. In fact, I really like getting inspired by Google Maps. I can spend a long time traveling virtually, and I fell in love with this lemur before I went to that natural park. So I become a loyal customer before. The island of Lobos, I see this picture and it makes me want to be there now. We can also activate the right leverages at which specific time a person needs to get an offer or a promotion, or make things easier and just bring it to their hand. So maybe our experience catalog or massages from our spa can be sent on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is making an effort to give a room to businesses. I'll share 4 opportunities that we have spotted. 1, digital. I cannot add anything new. You already know most of it. We conduct a study, LGM, that compares data from mainland Spain to Canary Islands. So since 2019, in the past, TV was the king, and we thought it was impossible to beat it. But now, digital means is the top player, and it's the one that is shaping how we speak to travelers. These are national data. For example, Germany, which is also a pretty traditional country, has penetration of 90-something%. We can see a very high potential on social media, but careful, it's an advertising potential, because Meta, that includes Facebook and Instagram, and then TikTok, have the highest market share. TikTok is growing a lot. If you analyze the target, you can see these data from mainland Spain and the Canary Islands. It's interesting to see how tourists behave depending on their countries of origin, because there are differences. In Spain, Instagram is at the top, but in the Canary Islands, Facebook is still number one. But TikTok has gone up significantly, especially thanks to video content. For brands, there's an effect that we've named window shop. I'm there, I look at the content, look at those parties, and we think, well, I need to pay my entrance fee if I want to be in the party. It's difficult to get standardized data in the industry, especially about the scope. Meta doesn't like talking about it, but the algorithm makes your content to be shown to very few people when you are a brand. If you are a Hootsuite study, spoke about 5.2% only. We heard a man talk about Marca's newspaper, a very popular sports newspaper, and its Instagram profile only had 6% share. And brands are less and less followed. From one year to the next, it's gone down by 13 percentage points. So people don't want advertising anymore. And for people who manage brand social media channels, the situation is a bit more challenging. So we need to invest in very segmented advertising, and cost effectiveness is interesting. We see high potential in AI assistants. They've changed the way we search and we compare. The main difference is that you can speak to them, you don't have to be typing. And in a matter of seconds, I was going to say minutes, but in a matter of seconds, I've been asked not to move around a lot, but I like gesturing, so I apologize. In a matter of seconds, you get an itinerary with recommendations for hotels, activities, etc. Even brands. And it's so effective, even more than going on search engines like Google. There's a very interesting piece of data, and people trust the results. This is the ZLM Observatory when they run a survey, and 93% of Spanish trust in AI decisions, and I believe it. This is great news for brands. And half of it don't check the information. Some people decide to cross-reference it, but others don't. And this means that we have an opportunity for brands. Why is AI recommending my competitor and not me? And we have a name for it. We used to talk about SEO, search engine optimization, and now it's generative engine optimization, GEO. So LLM models for AI assistants. We're trying to understand how they learn so that we can be ready. So AI assistants are ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. They're a little bit like black boxes. We don't really know how they learn. So based on trial and error and testing things out, we managed to have some bullet points here and see how we can be relevant for those platforms. And these are some of the current conclusions. We know how fast this changes. Reputation. It is as basic as having a good reputation, both offline and online. If you made the effort to post content, to develop content, statistics work very well. Having a Wikipedia site, it gives you good reputation and authority online because it considers that you're being quoted in relevant sources that are considered trustworthy by AI. In terms of coding, there are also ways to structure your data. If you tell your website manager, you can sort the content so that AI can read it better. One main difference is that you optimize, that you really need to optimize the content for questions, not so much focus on keywords like SEO used to do. So AI want to give the best solution to the person asking. So the concept changes a little bit. There's a difference with Google. To PR, external mentions, awards, branded links, loyalty programs, all that gets you bonus points to be considered an interesting brand. Last, another opportunity we spotted for tourism is generating targets of their own. We have a picture here, I got it from the internet. If we have the author here, thank you for letting me use the image. We have a first-party data. Those are the data that tourist business generate. And they are the owners, they're owned data, so they have consent to use them for advertising purposes. They can study them, analyze them, understand that target group, etc. Privacy is an important issue on the internet, and we need to do best practices. What's the goal of having your own targets? Well, to be independent so that you don't need to depend on third-party audiences. For example, the audiences provided by social media, by a search engine, by Google. And this way you can learn from your prospect clients. If you have a tourist business website, if it's registered on Booking, that's already giving you information. It's anonymous, but you know what's been the most interesting part about your website, if they ended up placing a booking, if it goes back online to look for something in particular, how you can do cross-selling. So to be independent, to know your prospect and loyalty potential. And this is important. We can use it thanks to technology. And you can do campaigns for those target audiences and get a higher return on investment. There are several ways to get some data. If you have a customer that comes to your hotel, well, you already have some data for your CRM, but there are others called coding advertising. Thanks to coding advertising, you can impact very efficiently on each of these stages to bring you towards conversion. So I'm taking you by the hand so that you buy my product, and you can have impact at every stage, and depending on the time you can give a message or another. Coding advertising impacts your audience in real time, and thanks to machine learning you can look for a similar target audience than the ones you send your message to. It's very effective, and it has an impact on conversion. And I would like to finish with a success case. We work with Lopesan Hotel Group for a very long time now, and we have innovated with them together, testing out new things and getting better results. We are running some campaigns for their hotel at Costa Bávaro in the American market, and we're doing it from here. And thanks to their digital strategy, they invest they invest in their brand. They're very creative as well. But there's an important side about performance. We have a target audience analysis and data strategy. And one of the milestones at 22 degrees was to launch something called dynamic creativities. You can see a screenshot here. These are banners that change depending on the target audience. So there are some signals that get activated depending on the strategy. So depending on where the person comes from, geolocation, if they came to our website, when did they leave, at which stage. And that happens in a matter of milliseconds. If they didn't place the booking, you might want to close the operation. And this allows you for a high level of personalization. And this is a very powerful development work. They've improved their return on advertising a lot. And we're very happy about the result of this project. To conclude, this is the QR code for our ebook that you can download. It's a short guide that I hope it's of interest to you. And we have a final reflection. It's time to reflect. Digital allows for testing out a lot to see what works best, this or that. We try to have strong knowledge about our target audiences, but nowadays everything changes so much and so quickly, so it's important to learn from the data as they're being generated. So the time is now. Get to experiment now. You don't need a very high budget at all. It's something doable. Zuckerberg said that by the end of the year they're going to launch an advertising service on Meta, that basically everything will be able to do thanks to AI. So I encourage you to do a little bit of research and be brave, get your own audience, and to get a higher share in your fields. If you're still learning and you like this world, in the Canary Islands we can do very cool projects. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. This conversion world is so interesting. The funnel to get to for calls of action, so that awareness, sale, recommendation. Thank you so much and congratulations. Well, we're about to listen to a Canarian project as well. It's a platform to buy energy, renewable and sustainable energy. These topics come up over and over again. The president of the regional government said that it had an impact on our territory. I would like to introduce Jose Maria Alvarez Perez from Switching Consulting. Good morning, everybody. I would like to congratulate the regional government of Fuerteventura and Asofuer, because this is being such an interesting event. I'm usually called to give speeches, and I'm very much surprised for the good about this event. Swiss Green Canary, it's a Canarian startup. I come from mainland Spain. I'm from Madrid. and I have a business in Zaragoza, in the region of Aragon. But thanks to my professional background, I have worked closely together with the Canary Islands and Fuerteventura, and I know many Canarian business people who are concerned about energy prices, volatility, etc. The decarbonization process, sustainability. Today, we live in a climate crisis. So I wanted to talk about tourism and energy. It's a strategic relationship. In the end, tourism, we've heard about it in the morning, AI, data processing, and that processing, those servers are high consumption players. On the one hand, it's great, but on the other hand, this is making a problem worse when we talk about resource consumption. One of the main needs is to buy cheaper energy. Well, we need this asset, and the cheaper and more optimized we can buy, the better, and the more we can translate it into a better experience for our clients. We won't make someone book a hotel because it's more energy efficient. That's not the kind of criteria they're looking for, but it has an impact on the leisure options we can offer. We need to be more efficient energy-wise. We know that. I don't know if you understand. If you remember a Unión Fenosa ad, it said the cheaper energy is the one you don't use. So we need to become as efficient as possible. In the case of the Canary Islands, we need to make the most of the resources that they have, renewable resources, sun and wind. This is a very competitive region. And as part of the whole management, we need to have to streamline resources, the consumption a hotel may have. We need to think about battery management. Why battery management? As I like saying, and sometimes people ask me, how do you dare saying that? Renewable energies are beginning to be the main enemy of the renewables. Why? Because photovoltaic energy only works when there's sunlight, and that brings prices down a lot. For consumers, that's great news. But it means that projects come slower, because photovoltaic energy needs investment and return on investment for the capital. So, in the end, batteries is a technology that is being developed a lot, and we can modulate when do I produce, when do I store, when do I reduce, when do I privilege this, so we can be more efficient. This morning, I heard about emissions. Well, I love this island. I'm passionate about Fuerteventura. It's a privileged area, but it's also isolated. How can hotels negotiate that power supply contract? When you travel from mainland Spain, you have to travel 1,500 kilometers. So from a business point of view, when you have to negotiate your power contract, well, the supplier has high logistics costs. We have to take into account the plane, the car, and the European Environment Agency provides some data. CO2 emissions per kilometer and per passenger are at 0.15 kilograms. So for this distance, we would be talking about roughly 255 kilograms of CO2 just because I have to take a plane to come to Fuerteventura to negotiate a power supply agreement. Then we need to use a car because you have to move around, and in a since I'm here and I have to stay overnight, then I'll visit 5 clients. In the end, we would be emitting 400 kilograms of CO2. And to offset this at national and international level, if I wanted to get this footprint to zero, I would have to plant 20 trees, more or less. Looking at the quantitative and economic element, hotels rely on power costs.
The first problem we have detected is that eventually in Canary Islands or any kind of island, it's an isolated system because they have a similar functioning to the peninsula, which somehow makes that management a bit more complicated. This is translated into a lack of competition when it comes to opening that array of possible suppliers I may have for my hotel or my business. Either there's something more macroeconomic thing, more geopolitical thing. I've seen that over the last years. There's a price increase, there are volatilities, and regulatory uncertainty at a geopolitical level. This is a chart of the Spanish electric market, where we can see clearly that it was stable, but since all these geopolitical conflicts started, everything has increased, and if we zoomed in, we would see that there's a lot of volatility, and that means uncertainty. There's a high dependency on fossil fuels. The general price is marked by fossil fuels, especially in the night hours where there's a lot of demand, of course. So there's a need of digitalization and, of course, flexibility for business. So somehow they can make this kind of business and negotiation more appealing, more attractive. We all have to do that either from home or from our businesses. Which opportunities do we have in this case? Mainly to bolster self-consumption and that storage. Because since I produce that solar kilowatt, I should be able to manage it more efficiently. I put some value on it in a higher way, so to speak. Let's also apply what we said before, AI and technology to optimize those energy purchase process. Historically speaking, this has been quite a routine, but with that access to information, we can give it a second thought. We also need to design purchase methodologies, and means grouping consumers on resources that makes the demanding part make it stronger. Somehow there are in reverse bits, and which try to soften that starting point we had, which is that we have a low competition for those companies who are willing to supply us. Having a more intelligent control of demand, and for that's where we can use that digitalization of that energy management. In this case, as William Thompson said, what is not defined cannot be measured, what cannot be measured cannot be improved, and what is not improved is degraded. With the advancement of technology and the sensors, of course, we can control how we consume in our facilities, as well Plus, we have the instant consumption of our vehicles. We can even monitor the heart rate. And in the case of our facilities, we would be able, through digitalization, we would be able to know how and when the energy is consumed, and that allows us to optimize processes. Of course, if we bet on these kind of clean energies, green energies, that whole efficiency, there are some subsidies as the energy saving certificates, which put value on saving energy. If I'm improving my lighting or my energy, I can consume less. And the records from the ministry pays in this case for every kilowatt we have saved. As I said before, I'm able to become more flexible in terms of demand with the management of batteries, and besides, we can take advantage of all these natural resources, especially because of the high potential we have in terms of PV and wind energy. This can lead to a reduction between 30 and 70%, depending on how we are capable of modulating that whole energy and consumption of production and consumption. This decarbonization gets a clean image, which is very necessary in the tourism, and especially when we talk about European tourists, because they give value, because sometimes they don't understand how a hotel cannot buy 100% of their energy through renewable sources. And there are a lot of subsidies, a lot of tax advantages, and those investments that which at first may seem costly, they turn out to be less costly, and the return of investment is much higher. And then we can improve resilience, that energy control, so we can somehow anticipate all those movements that may occur. Which are our values? We are engaged with planet protection through the platform. Every kilowatt negotiated is certified with the denomination of origin, so to speak, through a platform. There's no kilowatt through our platform that doesn't have that denomination of origin. And in this case, we believe that being able to acquire and to purchase renewable energies, and especially cheap energy, is a universal right. Our platform, actually, during that whole optimization process, it makes these sellers fall in love. Those sellers who are not selling Canary Islands because of those barriers that we mentioned before. We also put value to clearness and sincerity, because all interactions between sellers and buyers, they are all sure that in that process there's nothing weird. Since we are very aware of planet protection, we are in the whole process of contributing to decarbonization, and our mission and our vision is that every user can have access to renewable energies at an affordable price. We intend to become an innovative platform to change the purchase model that any user may have of that energy. One of the advantages this platform has is that every customer can access this platform, either small, medium, or large. Within the algorithms, the platform will design how the regrouping has to be done when we go to the bid day. So it's more and more efficient, so it's more and more appealing too for sellers. And therefore, it's a quite relatively process. The user logs, signs in, we are some data collection process, and that algorithm makes packages so that the day of the bid, it becomes more appealing for sellers. Why is a reverse bid? Because there's a higher competition in real time. When I gather several suppliers at the same time, I'm going to generate a competitive pressure. This seller is seeing the prices in real time, and that generates that there's like more aggressive offers rather if I just send an offer and I don't have that feedback. It's like this ego management. I'm not going to win, and even if I didn't want to offer this price level, I will offer at a lower price, and that is positive for the end customer. The platform avoids that kind of those opaque negotiations, this offer around here. I'm going to take advantage of the information you have, the kind of knowledge you have. And since it's real time and the users are seeing it at the moment, it's a way of generating what we want. And the price I will get is actually the reality of the market at that very moment. It doesn't mean that every time I will get lower prices, but in the end, I will get the best possible price in the market when the efficiency is generated. This is done in just a few minutes, and this generates that competitiveness, that competition that allows that decision-making process is based on data. Access to a higher number of suppliers. As a consumer, I will get suppliers I don't know, but those suppliers, since they are in the platform, they see there's an auction and they will encourage themselves to make some more competitive offers with less commercial margins. From what I could know beforehand, it removes what I said, those asymmetric advantages of negotiation. Individually, somehow, I can see the information you have, if you the price you have now, if I can go a little bit down so you feel more comfortable, but I could even go a bit lower. And this auction and the technology behind it makes that we generate that engine, that offer engine, so we can get the best prices and that there's a huge transparency and traceability and competitiveness. All data, all auction, every movement will be monitored. And finally, we have other functions. There's a module that through AI can split prices that will be translated into me making better decisions depending on how the machine forecasts the market, if it will go up or down. So we will provide more data so I can make a more effective purchase. That consumption optimization, once I get the data, I will be able to be more efficient, and that's why we will have better opportunities for saving. This is a multi-user management. I may have 100 facilities, and the action will work the same. If I add efficient consumption and it doesn't match with what I had estimated, what I said before about those intelligent sensors, which are the ones that will provide that information, as I said before. In the end, we want to promote that decarbonization, that sustainability, which in the end is the focus. That's the core business we want. That's our mission, to think a bit more on the planet and about the current situation we are living. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jose Maria. I always say that to reach decarbonization, sometimes we need start cease to be some assholes because some people don't understand what's going on. Some islands have wind, have sun, renewable energies, so we should be able to be 100% self-sufficient. So thank you, Jose Maria, to make this possible. So now we will have a panel with a lot of talent, with a lot of youth. And if they don't have the microphone, we have Olimpia Alcaraz Bautista. I will invite them to come to the stage. Olimpia, Joaquín Pedreño, and Andrés Romero. Thank you, Olimpia. You can sit there if you want. Joaquín Pedreño and Andrés Romero. Please show yourself. Well, he's being microphoned. So let's talk a topic which is the elephant in the room. So we will try not to touch difficult topics. Sometimes they are called holiday homes. They are a source of income. Some people have 2 or 3 apartments. They rent them over the summer. Some people rent them over the whole year. That's a source of income. And especially hotel business feel the consequences because there are other agents. They always existed. We always have had holiday homes. But now there are some platforms which optimize the use. When I was younger in the 70s, when we went on holidays, my father left us in the beach and he was asking around if there was any available apartment. And then after a couple of hours, he came back and saying, okay, we have an apartment ready. Now we can go to Airbnb, Booking, or any other platform, and everything is controlled already. So it has become something professional and it has been massified, and that's a part of the problem. This morning we said that technology generates abundance, but this technology has generated this abundance because we need to put some order. We can see cities like Barcelona, Malaga, Alicante are a bit against this, but we can offer alternatives, technological alternatives. Please note, we have these youth speakers, we have entrepreneurs who are below 30 years old, and I think they will surprise us with the ability and what they can do. Olimpia Alcaraz, he comes from Inferia Solutions. Joaquín Pedreño, co-founder of Versace and Triptych, co-founder of 2 companies, and Andrés Romero from Asiri Marketing. Is that right? Okay. Just to ring some bells, let's make a brief round of their to allow them to make their pitch so they can explain why they are here. So let's start from here. Let's start with Andres. How's doing a guy like you in a place like this? First of all, I want to thank the organizers for calling me and allowing me to come and to participate with you and to give my insight. My name is Andres. I'm a marketing professional, converted to the digital area, an academic, researcher, a very explosive mix. And for 12 years, I've been managing a digital marketing agency specialized in tourist hosts, in tourist places, tourist apartments. And we work in vertical with specialized professionals, digital marketing. And you said you enjoy what you're doing, and that's worthless. Not many people can say that. Joaquin, you don't get bored, right? No, actually not. I try to be busy, actually. Triptych was born like 1.5 years ago, and it was born out of curiosity I had, because I'm a tech geek, which is not a bad thing, but I am. And it was born out of the curiosity I had, because I know a lot of technologies, but I saw that social media had the ability to create communities through that in an organic manner. So I had several options, and I wanted to know if that was possible or not. So I can start dancing in front of TikTok. I have 2 left foot, so I can dance. So that wouldn't be a great idea. So I had this idea related to my specific field. I like to travel. I went to Airbnb and holiday vacationations. I will place the location. I will put the amount of people who can stay and a price per person, because you are not scared of the final price. So let's see if it works. During the first month, I was communicating. Every 2 days, I was posting things. And since I'm a bit stubborn, I continued. And from one day to another, everything exploded. We became viral. Now we have more than 200,000 people who travel. Everything that started as a test now has become an online travel agency without knowing tourism. So I could be at home answering about the trip, but I had no idea. So there we perceive a need. We weren't able to answer all the messages we received through TikTok when we posted 2 million posts in TikTok. So when there's a problem in that sense, if you don't have a technical solution, you have a problem. So what we created was the Triptych platform, which in our community, we were saying, okay, They said, I want to go to Valencia, and I want that in front of the house there are donkeys or a jacuzzi or whatever. I want to ask my partner to marry me. If she says no, that will be the fault. So we created a platform based on AI, and all those messages we got from social media, we recommend them. Okay, this crazy thing you asked, don't tell me that. Use our platform, put the location, and there's like a sandbox, and it can generate your journey with a chart, with an efficient route, and that's what we are training. We describe ourselves as a small community where we support each other on technology, and on the other part of the company, we run consultancy, process automation, AI. We enter into many companies. We see what they are doing, and we try to save them time. But you have a community of 200,000. There are many capital of provinces which don't have that amount of inhabitants. Olimpia Alcaraz, Interferia, that would be our biggest problem. Inferia, with capital letter AI, which is the data inference. So we are based on data. We are a startup. In this case, we come from a spin-off from the University of Alicante. We come from the research department, and we are devoted to search and treatment and data management, because we understand that without data we cannot make correct decisions. So we want to provide some context so they are able to support public administrations, private sector, companies, to add that differentiation value to their strategies. Now that we are going to start with you, and let's get down to business. Data. How can they help us to optimize, to be a part of the solution of the holiday accommodation? Holiday. Let's put this down to earth. I'm going to make a small speech. In my case, I was economist as a training, and I was interested by the data impact on economy. And I relate this with technology because of the following. Holiday accommodations, that right now could be a topic that generates some tensions, and besides we live in the province of Alicante, it's very demanded in terms of tourism. Of course, that has an impact on the accommodation, on the households, on the housing. With the open data that we have, with a series of certifications that all housing, all tourist accommodation need to have, it's just making a match. You go to Booking, Airbnb, you make the list, and you check if actually in this database has been published. And sometimes this is free to access. It's just identifying a house which is not legal. So we facilitate setting the rules of the game so they are all equal. This tool can be applied to everything, actually. If something has been clear this morning, is that data helps to make better decisions, of course. It avoids bias. Based on the bias, which technical solutions do you perceive to automate the response to users or platforms in your marketing scope so you can manage that 200,000 community? For us, that's a big problem because we cannot answer the amount of message we get. Besides TikTok, we are limited to the amount of messages we could respond because it told you have to take a break. So right now we are working on small flows. We work low code platforms like Me2N that they connect. They already created connections to all the platforms in the world, from WhatsApp, from CRM, from Gmail. Entonces, so we work on a small flow. We make a small filter. Those models on these platforms, we run AI on it. So we make that small filtering. And if somebody has a request or they want a link from one of the houses we promote, they will get that message automatically. But maybe when you need to make something more customized. And in our case, if somebody says, okay, I'm looking for some holidays and my budget is 5K, maybe this is up to us because that's more interesting for us. And besides, we receive alerts from those cases that demand our personal assistance. But in some cases, this could be automated. The responses can be done automatically, because sometimes a chatbot can be efficient, but sometimes that human factor generates trust. I mean, sometimes this chatbot can generate some rejection, some reluctancy. From your marketing perspective, you have AI. Which technologies would you perceive applicable to this challenge? When we talk about data or data interpretation, it's important to know why I want that information and how can I apply it. Regarding distribution of tourist apartments with transparent or air DNA, help you to analyze the situation of a market. And in our case, when we work with a customer, we try to analyze what has been the trend for that customer with that data we generated, to see where we can go and what we can learn and where are we aiming for. It's interesting, the fact of using AI applied to data according to what we can assume within our business, see what we can do or what we want to do, and based on that we can apply different methodologies, different tools, such as my colleague said, and being able to execute them. So with that technology, we will see where we can get in our business. It's like small rural accommodation, in small apartment at the beach. We're talking about that kind of customer. There are some tools and technologies which are good, but we need to know where we are and where we want to go. This morning we mentioned this analogy of David against Goliath, how a rural accommodation, how can they compete? Because if they enter into the labyrinth of booking or Airbnb, it can go unnoticed. And in marketing, I believe that either you make yourself different or you go to extinction, and that's it. Does technology nowadays allow? I don't want you to answer the question, but this is a dialogue, and I want you to just debate. Does technology nowadays allows that this David can fight against Goliath to offer a rural accommodation in Cantabria or Santa Pola, so they are not slaves of the big platform? Either you are in or you are out, and besides they keep 20% of commission. They can fight. We'll start. Okay. Going back to the data origin, the differential value when we are talking about this tourist accommodation in a more local manner, not needing to use this big platform, is to provide some context. I mean, let's provide context to what we are actually offering. And just to take it a bit further, you can have a virtual assistant that can accompany you through the whole reservation or booking process. And then you have the whole array of services that you can receive after the trip, like having the invoice. Sometimes it's very complicated to find out the invoice. With providing context, we can nourish tools like virtual assistants. We can provide some context with external data. This means that I can have a virtual assistant for my residents to provide more value with a knowledge base that I can expand. And besides, I'm going to feed it with different sources. Let's relate it to IMED, to some databases, or some other rating content. So as a tourist, I can go to that accommodation and say, I'm in Altea. Which beach is the one with the best weather today? And since it's connected to the IMED database, which is the Spanish weather agency, I'm going to get this recommendation of going to that beach because the weather will be better. And we index that with our own knowledge, with our known local knowledge. And they will be different from the publicity or the advertising you will find in big platforms. In the end, I think it's a bit complicated. Competing against these giants, if you are competing against Meliá hotel chains, Meliá doesn't want to be there. Meliá or Barcelona don't want to be there. They just leave some things. Or NH, if you hire me through the webpage, I'm cheaper because they save the commission they have to pay to the channel. Big players go everywhere, either holiday accommodation, and they are sick of this system. For the small accommodations, it's very complicated, not only because of marketing, because we have had advertising a house in 2 days. The whole house was booked for the whole year. That means that social media are a big motor, so they can get bookings to that. But there are two problems. Most of these holiday accommodations don't have a website, and if they have, there's no booking process, only or neither payment. That technical or development part belongs to a person who only has an apartment. Maybe this person is not interested, so it's complicated. But as a company, I depend in terms of commissions, etc. I'm just another one.
In our case, we work with many Davids. Most of our clients are small locations, small businesses that need that differentiation extra. So when we define competitiveness of an accommodation, we have to conduct an analysis. Why am I differential? Why will I stand out with my product? And we have to boost it at digital level because it will allow you to stand out over others. I might have this family customer with specific peculiarities, and we need those special characteristics. And then thanks through the actions that give you visibility on that differential factor. I really defend on specialization. Some people think you need to target everybody, but if you try to satisfy everyone, you'll satisfy no one. So if your target is families, then you need to have a swing and spaghetti. But if you want adult target, then you take out that. And so on and so forth. If you have purchasing power, you don't have that much time, etc. So you really need to specialize in something, whether it's vegan food or well-being, spa. So you need to have a niche advertising. Olympia, you brought up reviews. It's been proven that the Trust Edelman's trust model certified that we trust more in the opinion of an unknown person on TripAdvisor than on a second-degree relative. And we begin realizing that there are many fake reviews. Some of them are not real. They're terrorists of reviews. They're trolls. Do you think that technology and data will make these reviews being more trustworthy and checked? Of course, we've worked on it. When you cross-check data, as a business, you get a review, and you have the ability to check that the user wrote the review. Well, you have some conditions like the email, etc., but there's the ability to realize whether it's true or false, and you can validate, because maybe it was not a user nor a customer. And there's something very interesting that is to analyze it. So when we say that we apply AI, we process language processing to check whether it's a positive or a negative review, and when we cross-match it with other data, it's interesting to see whether it has had an external effect. So what was the trigger of that bad review? For instance, the power outage, the blackout. You can put a bad review, but am I really responsible for that? So we have to contextualize the reviews. When you decide on your business strategy, you need to decide whether there's room for improvement or not. And the same goes the other way. If there is something that you can do about it, you have to act on that. Yes, from a sales point, a complaint from a client is the best improvement opportunity, because sometimes you're not aware of what you're doing wrong, and you'll continue doing them wrong if no one tells you about it. So sometimes you just have to say, thank you, we will correct this, we will amend this, or you can answer, look, if it rains on your wedding day, what can I do about it, right? We do a lot of consultancy with SMEs, restaurants, etc. So we conduct feelings analysis. So we do this feelings analysis with past reviews, historic data. And we provide things that they didn't manage to see manually. Maybe a restaurant had a problem because they didn't give them the table with the best views or by the window. So we analyze all historical data, and then the ability to reply. Many times the owners of restaurants or holiday accommodations react, and when someone writes a negative review, you want to answer straight back. And AI is a bit more patient, so maybe not automatically. You can let it rest a little bit, maybe 2 days, and then you write back. And AI is more patient than some of the owners that get very triggered. Yes, count to 10, think about it. You don't have to think about the person who wrote the reviews family. And about marketing, SEO, SEM, content marketing, a funnel, conversion. It seems like we use Google less and less for searches. How do you think the future of marketing will look like in holiday accommodations if Google is not used so much anymore? Well, that's a good question. I'm not a visionary. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but the trend in using Google as a search engine is going down. One of the last reports I was analyzing about this is that it's dropping and other platforms are going up. I think they're used differently anyway. I trust that Google knows a lot about us. They know a lot about our behavior, and they know which are the key elements when making decisions in purchasing processes. That's what they're interested in. They have their business model based in their advertising model. And it's true that GPTs have been integrated in the information searches, not in such an immediate way, but more in processes with more developed content. It's a more reflexive process. So the trend is that we will continue using this search engine systems. I will continue using Google for my searches, but it's true that social media play an important role in decision-making processes. Some searches look up on Instagram or on TikTok to look for accommodations. I think there's a huge diversification at the moment. So the tools that are used for purchasing decision-making is huge. So the solution is to analyze your client profiles. On which platforms are they making their purchasing decisions? So you need to get that visibility and start from there. Yeah, so you can ask Perplexity, an AI that conducts deep research. What are the best 10 hotels? And then it provides the context with data, like Olympia was saying. Just a while ago, we were listening to Visitas Virtuales, virtual visits, and it was amazing. Immersive experiences, digital twins. What do you think about these new exponential technologies? How do they impact booking decisions? Do you think that having an immersive experience can help you make yourself stand out, or that can change your opinion about a specific accommodation? Well, yes, absolutely. A few years ago, we had a metaverse, right? There was a huge hype and expectations were incredible, and then there was a disappointment, huge disappointment. So I think that, as you say, this will play an important role. So a holiday home or a hotel, by 2030, we won't go in and scroll the pictures and see everything in 2D. We'll just take these goggles. We are seeing this on Ray-Ban. You can wear sunglasses and you can go inside those spaces, an immersive experience, and there will be an AI agent that will deal with your booking. So this is the perfect storm. So we have the new generation AI, like a Fortnite, virtual worlds. They're used there's young people are used to this kind of universe. Then hardware is making huge progress as well thanks to AI. And the big bets, we have Apple, we have Meta behind this, and in the end, the change we see other spaces will change. Olympia, do you agree? You don't have to agree. You can disagree. No, I do agree. In fact, it's consistent at internet at generation level. You want to test it firsthand. You don't want others to tell you. So when I have to make a decision, I want to touch it, right? Virtually, at least. It's not just about taking other words for it, other people's words for it. I do think that these technologies are good to break with the standardization of distribution platforms. So the user that decides on the purchase is aware that they need to have that immersive experience. So if there's chains that we will include this immersive experience in their booking engines, it's going to be easier to get more bookings on their own websites rather than on booking.com. So I think this will lead to digital twins becoming more popular, and it will have an impact on the booking decision. Joaquin, I think it's important to say that all technologies have that high expectations peak, and then you get the disappointment, and then in the end you have the productivity plateau. Sometimes it happens in 5 years time, 10, 15 years. In 10 years time, we might realize that metaverse wasn't dead. It was just doing something else. So software, hardware, software, blockchain, AI, edge computing, new devices, all of them are there and will eventually converge somewhere. Immersive experiences, there will come the time when we use them all at the same time. Maybe the metaverse will change names and it will be called spatial computing, whatever. Well, this has been so interesting. We're not doing very well time-wise. We also have a very interesting presentation, so I would like you to give a huge round of applause for Olympia and our other panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. And now we are going to give way to our last speaker of the first day of FTV 4.0 Congress. I'll give the floor to Javier Rodriguez Exposito, CIO and CISO, so Chief Information Officer, Chief Information Security Officer of the GFTIC group, who's going to be talking about robotics and technology. Well, we hurried with the roundtable, and now our next speaker isn't ready. Well, I really hope that you're having a good time. This is the 8th edition of FTV 4.0, and I think it's very important that we're here talking about innovation, technology, because technology gives us digital superpowers. A rural accommodation, a tourist flat, an individual can compete with a robot. They can play in the same scene as a huge hotel chain. And this technology brings up opportunities and abundance. Technology is always about abundance. It's not bad or good. It really depends on what we do with it. I am a teacher as well, and I find that there are young people and teenagers that use tablets in a great way, that they learn languages on Duolingo. They're brilliant students, many of them, and some others just become engulfed in TikTok, and then they're very sleepy in the morning, and their brains are numb. So it's not about the tablet; it's about the use that we make of it. So we usually demonize new technologies, but that's not right. And just like plastic is not bad itself. Plastic has saved lives. It's a clean material. In the 50s, engineers that invented plastic came up with a wonderful material. It's a material that lasts forever, and that's good. The bad thing about it is the single-use plastic, but if we made the most of it, because it's something that lasts forever, it would be great. Well, are you ready? Well, there you go. Okay. Can we see the presentation, please? Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure being here with you today. This is one of my favorite islands, and I am a proud Canarian, so I'm really happy to be here with you today. My name is Javier Rodriguez. I am a CIO and CISO at Grupo Fedola. Well, I would like to thank the organization for bringing us here together to speak about technology applied to robotics. Okay. We talk about technology, but we have some glitches sometimes. Well, my name is Javier Rodriguez. I'm a manager at GFTIC. It's a fully funded Canarian company, and I'm the CIO and CISO at Fedola, which is the parent company of my company. I work on cybersecurity, which is fun. Take that with a pinch of salt. And I deal with the technology in the group of companies, which is a bit of a challenge. I would like to play this video so you get to know us a little bit better. Right. GFTIC has a robotics department. And we try to link some situations and how can we link humanity and technology together? If we're going to automate processes, we believe that we can be more efficient, don't we? We need to automatize that to some extent, because someone has set out that if we follow steps A, B, C, D, we won't make any mistakes. So those resource automation with a good document manager, when you get invoices, if it can be injected directly into an ERP, the human mistake reduces significantly. The person will only have to check and verify that those documents and the data are correct. We can consider topics like, for instance, if we want to do something repeatedly in a hotel restaurant, for example, do we think it would be good to have someone carrying the plates from the kitchen to the restaurant all the time, back and forth, back and forth? Could we be more efficient for clients? Well, as human beings, we need to provide our customers with some level of humanity. And if there's no return whatsoever, then we'd be better off if those tasks were carried out by a machine. And we believe that this is such a powerful idea, and in the short term, it will be a reality. This is what the future looks like. Technology has proved to be very useful in many situations. Innovation. If you're in the pool, you get your phone and you realize you want to have a drink. Sometimes the waiter is very busy, you're looking for him, and in the end you want a drink and the waiter is missing. Well, you can download your QR code, you place your order online, and then the waiter brings you that drink for you. So the waiter could be free and bring you the drink, or we can make the process as efficient as possible using a robot. Well, what's more efficient? So we have to weigh that. We have to come to that conclusion. What's more efficient? We have to redefine the role of members of staff. Who is worried that a robot might steal their jobs in the future? Anybody? Yes. Okay. I'll tell you, that's not going to happen. In the end, it's going to be a supplement to your job. So what do you prefer as people? To be carrying dirty dishes around, or that someone values your job and you have a closer treat with the customer? Well, that's great. I can deal with the client, and then dishes can be dealt with by my colleague over here. Or can you picture a lobby in a hotel? We have huge lobbies at hotels. How many people do you think it takes to clean a hotel lobby? Many people. They're usually very big. Okay, these 3-4 people, instead of cleaning all day long, they can tidy up the sofas, put everything pretty. The cleaning will be done by the machine, and you just have to verify that the robot is doing a good job. Well, it's an amazing support for the person who's working. We actually have um, statements from people who have beginning working with robots. The sick leaves due to pain in your body are gone. So it's great to have this technology support. Impact on employment. It's not that some situations will disappear because of technology. That person will uh, reskill themselves to do any other kind of job. I don't want to be loading dishes. I want to deal with people. I would like to do something different and not just do ABC all day long. I want to deal with people, maybe. Well, that will be an asset and an improvement in hotels or any other businesses. And sustainability and uh, energy efficiency is a key aspect. Thanks to technology, we have realized that using robots has an impact on energy efficiency, like saving water, um, corrosiveness. Well, we know that the machine has to be plugged in and it goes around. If we have to clean 1,000 square meters, how many liters of water you think we need to use if we do it manually? We have to sweep, we have to wash the floor. Um, how many liters? Well, so many. Well, then we have a machine here that from 15 to 17 uh, liters of water can clean the same extension in a shorter time, 3,000 square meter with 15 liters of water. And the other cleaners can do other tasks. And this is important for businesses. If we can remove uh, potentially damaging tasks from our workers and provide them with new exciting opportunities, I think the balance is good, isn't it? Also, um, hygiene matters. If we use these machines and we use biodegradable products and you enhance the kind of cleaning and you use it with hygiene safety, then well, that's amazing. Do you think that including technology in our business is a good claim? I think it is. Not just in robotics. If we work in the hotel industry, and depending on the amount of stars that the hotel has, we could maybe think, I'm gonna go to a hotel with my family, but I cannot leave my job behind completely. I mean, that is my case. I cannot just stop working. I might need to check my computer at certain times in the day because I have some pending matters, whatever. So if I go to that hotel, what do I need? Well, good connectivity, good Wi-Fi connection. What else? That the connection is safe. If we work with sensitive data, security is very important. If we want to do our checking online, because we don't need to go to reception, we might need to do it quickly. Not really efficiently, but maybe we want to do it fast because there's a queue. And well, if there's that possibility, much better. Or if we need to get something delivered to our room, as business people, we can decide to have a service like this. Okay, you can bring the food to me, I can enter a PIN code, and then the robot delivers my food. Could we offer a wider range of services with fewer resources? So we can have someone whose shift is about doing other kinds of tasks. So bringing all of this together, the result is that it's a good claim for tourists that want to visit us. And sustainability is also important. Who believes this can be a good appeal for businesses? Is it attractive? Yeah, sure. So this leads that the relationship service client will change. Well, actually, no, we're old school. We don't want to do this. In the end, we can become more efficient in our companies.
So they can provide some tools to become more efficient. We can try to say, okay, if I want to provide a delivery service during the night that comes back at 3 a.m. because I need it, because I have a huge demand, but actually I cannot afford to pay this extra night shift because I don't get, because this person cannot conciliate family life with business life. There are some tools which can help that, no? Right? In the end, these could be a significant part. And, well, let's provide some testimonials of people who have always been who have been in love working with people, but they incorporated these robots into their days, to their lives. And we have the testimonials from a person in a hotel from Tenerife. His name is Pedro, and he will tell what he thinks. In the restoration department, we have a GF Victoria. This is a cleaning robot because it removes everything. We avoid noises with cards, movement of waiters, and it's much more comfortable. And the management provides the opportunity to test this robot. And we tried the robot. We see it has a lot of advantages, more than we expected. And what it hasn't changed is that we realized that we can take advantage of these free waiters, and the robots does the dirty work of moving these dirty dishes to cleaning the service. So we have the same staff, and we improve their work, avoiding to charge heavy loads, etc. So everything is positive. You have to test it. It's somebody who's always moving around, making that your work is, the workers are more relaxed in terms of weight. So we have tried it, and we are persuaded that it works. As you can see, Pedro is in love, and he was quite reluctant to have a kind of robot because he didn't want it in the hotel, because it's a 5 Grand Lux hotel, 5-star Grand Lux, and he didn't want to lose that humanity in the service. However, it's an environment where it's a robot that does not disturb. People want to take pictures with it, and its role, which is zero return, it is carrying dirty dishes and bring new dishes. It's being used to interact with the customer. Besides, it's more important to have somebody cleaning or carrying the dishes. Now we have Carmen, and she tells her experience with this little friend, which is Maria, which is the cleaning robot. I'm Carmen Nieve. Carmen is Garcia. I'm the housekeeper of GF Victoria. We have a kind of robot for cleaning. It's a big help in every day. It works in the whole hall of the hotel. It's also in the commercial area. And since we have the robot right now, it has been quite advantageous. We are happy with it because, as I said, it's very positive. It's very helpful when it comes to work with it. And customers are excited. They are taking pictures of it all the time, making videos. They are shocked somehow there's a deep cleaning works where there's water. It's very helpful when it collects it. It just takes a couple of minutes before it could take maybe 15 minutes. It's a tool that facilitates our work, and it goes better and better. So we have to try it. You have to try it and see the benefits it can offer. As an addition to Carmen's remark, Carmen and Yolanda, who are the housekeepers of two hotels of the same hotel which implemented this kind of robots, Yolanda told us that back at the time they had problems because every 3, 4, 5 months they had colleagues who were in sick leave because they had injuries in their arms or in the shoulder, in the legs because of lifting heavy weights, excuse me. And Yolanda said that those problems have disappeared. Right now, there are no sick leaves during that time. What we want to number are in the cleaning sector the benefits that these may have. I won't read them because that's what hygiene, saving, continuous operation, sustainability, less cost, security, adaptability, and the implementation areas, which is almost everywhere. We have implemented this kind of robots in schools, in hotels, in big areas like the hall we have here. The final implementation, it's up to our imagination. And this was a development of our company. We used a framework of this robot. We implemented a big screen, an interactive screen, and here we can add advertising. This is in a commercial, in a mall, and we can see all the stands or the stores that are in that mall. And then we click on the icon where the store we want to go is, and the robot is acting as a guide. You follow him, you follow it, and you go to the store. Instead of having a person sharing or following people to know if they are interested or not, we just go to this. They click on the store they want to visit. That's where we will know the person will interact, and we can use the resources of that person we have. That person will be in charge of saying the robot, okay, you're interested in going to the store. I won't waste my time by guiding people all around the mall, and you just click on the screen and you go. In the HoReCa sector, we have these robots. We have cleaning, we have the waiter, and the loading robots. What's the benefit of this one? We have efficient hygiene and security, less work, better treatment to our colleagues, optimized resources, better experience, attractive technology, because it's true that children, especially out of curiosity, when they get closer, they go to these kind of robots. They start playing with it. It's true that the delivery can take a bit longer, but it's not a big deal in a hotel. But it's the you have as long as the robot can roll, it can be used for almost everything. And after industrial loading, we have several ones. We have robots who are capable of lifting pallets, capable of they're automated. We use them for batteries or other kind of areas. I think they can be useful for laundry, where a person who before was pushing the carts, excuse me. Now the robot can help that person with those carts to see where they can get. Because in the end, it's like what we said before. It's like loading dishes or cleaning. In the end, oriented to the industrial area, it's almost the same. We have to have some imagination. As we can see, it has that improvement. It offers that daily improvement. As we said at the beginning, automation, in the end, it's just an important tool for repetitive works. They don't have a return on that person who's doing it because there are heavy duties. It's always ABC. So this can replace that kind of works. And that's it. I hope you liked it. For me, I think it was interesting. And for the next, then, that's it. Thank you so much. I think it's clear that robots have come to stay. They will help us in many, many repetitive works, dull, dirty, and dangerous. And I like to talk about cobots, collaborative robots. So I won't take more time from you. Thank you for your attendance. I invite you that tomorrow morning we will start with the second day of FTV 4.0, and we will start with a very strong speaker, Julis Galindio, who will talk about positive psychology on how we need to have the attitude against those changes, this future we have ahead of us. And I remind you that in this moment, because of the courtesy of the regional government, we have a small snack, small lunch. So it's a great opportunity to keep talking with some of the speakers and with some of us, and to promote this networking and this common knowledge. And please enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you tomorrow again at 9 a.m. Thank you and enjoy the afternoon.